Alright, welcome back, YouTube. So following my last ECW painting update, I was going to talk about some recently acquired rules and books. So, Holy Diver, he's been trying to get me to play fantasy forever. He begs and he pokes and he prods, and I don't think I'll ever do it. Number one, whether it's Warhammer Fantasy, classic Warhammer Fantasy, not Age of Sigmar or Kings of War, I'm not really into list building. I like historical stuff because it is what it is, and it's all intuitive. Like, I understand what a King Tiger tank is, or what an M18 Hellcat is. I understand what Spartiates are versus Helots versus Periokoi. Like those things, they don't change. They are what they are. I understand what a class 1 spearman versus a class 6 spearman is, in the Servian system. So like, when it comes to historical stuff, like I know what that stuff is. It's not going to change. Most rules are going to handle that the same. A picked 300 unit of Theban Sacred Band or Spartan King's Guards, like they're going to be the same between all rules. They're going to be the really tough guys that stay on the battlefield the longest. You got to kill them all to wipe them out type deal. So I don't enjoy the prices, and I know Mantic's a lot better than Warhammer, but GW is just ridiculously predatory with how they do things these days, and it's sad because it doesn't seem like they always were. But with that said, he did get me to play WAB, Warhammer Ancient Battles, and I know a lot of you guys in the UK, you guys already know all about WAB because you guys were gaming 15, 20 years ago. I wasn't. So I decided to go full in on WAB. And I got really lucky. Yep. I got a brand new copy of the 2nd edition rules. I got that from Noble Knights Games. So really cool. I got it for 80 USD, brand new. It's really sad because it really shows the quality of product and what could have been if GW hadn't decided to stick their own heads up their asses there. But that's the route they went. They decided in, I think, 2012 to discontinue their historical line. But this book is really cool. This is the 2nd edition, written by Martin Gibbons. A lot of similarity to Swordpoint. But for speed of play and ease of play, this is probably actually better, but it still has more historical flavor than Hail Caesar. Hail Caesar's a fine game. That's the primary game that me and Holy Diver have played. But it is a game. It doesn't have a lot of historical flavor to it. Units more or less all behave the same between the different armies. There's just stat differences there, and that's fine. It's meant to be an easier to learn pickup game, but it is a game that you just happen to have ancient or medieval models for. And then on the other end, you have games like Swordpoint, which are much more historical, but are harder to play and not as intuitive and easy to learn. Swordpoint's a great game, heavily based off of WAB. No surprise there. The owner of Gripping Beast, who wrote Swordpoint, also wrote Warhammer Ancient Battles 2nd edition. But I feel like after playing a proper game of WAB with Army List, that this is a great blend of ease of play, speed of play, and historical flavor. So this is really all you need to play the game to get started. There's Army List in the back for each one, going all the way up, starting with Bronze Age stuff and then ending with the Crusades. the last 2 army lists in here. If I can hold that out far enough. You got Crusaders and Muslim armies there. Turkish armies under Salahuddin. And then it goes there. So you got, into Persia, Rise of Macedon, German barbarians, Imperial Romans, all that kind of stuff. So, really great book, great illustrations, great semi-gloss pages, all the figures and demonstrations, it's all Perry stuff that they painted and did and built terrain for. It gives you guides, it's old GW stuff, which was really good. It's a shame they stopped supporting this game system because they could have had a corner on the historical market. I think if they had started producing decent plastic kits like Victrix, because essentially they left the scene and other companies like Victrix and Warlords stepped in. But yeah, these are just really good book. I really like the historiography of the rules. One of the things that I hate about Hail Caesar is how they treat Peltast. Every time we play Greeks in Hail Caesar, because they treat Peltast just like normal javelin men, and they're brittle as hell, and they just die instantly. They can't do anything. They're essentially they're shit. They're shit because they can't survive anything, and that's not what they were in ancient battles, so it kind of irks me. And then they don't do anything to deal with manipular combat. They don't have like any special rules. The only thing they try doing in Hail Caesar is saying, oh, you have to field small units, to try and get the checkerboard Trip X ACs type deal there with the 3 lines. But other than that, they don't do anything. WAB, now you need to have the supplements. And I've bought all the supplements I want -1. I still want the Armies of Chivalry. But to really get the most bang for your buck out of WAB, you need to buy the campaign books, the supplements. And they're great. They're just as greatly put on as the rule book. And they have them for all periods, starting in the Biblical and Bronze Age, going all the way up to the Age of Chivalry and everything in between. So they have the Byzantium army book, and I don't think I'm ever going to get into the Byzantine era, so I didn't get that one. But I'll go through here kind of in chronological order. Oh, and if you want to spice up, this is the basic army list right here. So in addition to that one has like 10 army lists in it. This one has like 30 or 40. It says armies of antiquity, but it goes from Samaria all the way to the samurai, to the Crusades and samurai. So it has a little bit more in there, but it also does not have Imperial Romans at all for some reason. I don't know if they planned on doing an Imperial Roman supplement, and they never came out with it. And I'll touch more on that later. But yeah, these are really good. Really good army list in here as well, set up in the Warhammer fantasy manner. So this is what Holy Diver bought so we could do our battle last time, so we could pull our Macedonian and Greek list out of this. Now, in addition to that, and that was about $35 on eBay, but in addition to that, and you can find those armies of antiquities pretty common. But in addition to that, I got this. So this is the Alexander the Great, obviously, supplement here. I think it came out in 2003. And this is going to have all the special rules and lists for essentially the Philip II to the death of Alexander. It does not have anything for the successors in there, for the Diadohui, but it does have the Indians, it has the Indians, the Persians, has Illyrians in there. Yeah, it has all sorts. So if anybody who fought Philip and Alexander is going to be in there, okay? Yeah, Mountain Indian, Classical Indian, yeah, all sorts of stuff. So this, as you know, Holy Diver has Macedonians, and I am going to be doing Persians, so we can fight. And honestly, we're probably going to use this campaign book. I also bought the Alexander campaign book for Sword Point. But yeah, this has all the special rules and the characters. I like the special rules. One of the special rules is how Macedonian cavalry is treated with their formations, and how Thessalians are treated with their diamond formation. Those are good rules, and that makes it more historical, because the Thessalians, get this more in frame here, the Thessalians were famed for their diamond formation. The Macedonians were famed for their wedge formation. So I really like to see those types of rules added into a game. It makes it feel more historical. It differentiates it from just playing Persian cavalry, right? It's not just, I have cavalry, you have cavalry, let's smash into each other or shoot at each other. It's, I have these special rules and tactics that I can build around them. And that's really great. And there's just all sorts of cool stuff. You know, I saw a special rule that was like pack mules in there. But there's all sorts of special rules in this. I haven't read this one yet. It's the last one I got. But you know, every army is going to have special rules and special characters. Really, really, really cool. It even has you know, not a lot of campaign books deal with the Sacred Wars that Philip was engaged with. They have Phocian army list in there. And then after that one, and I have read this one, Age of Hannibal. This one was a little bit harder to find. I had to pay $55 once again from Noble Knight Games, worth every penny. Now this is a great supplement. This is one of the greatest supplements of wargaming I have ever purchased. The special rules that they give to these armies and how they handle manipular combat, with how you have to have your forces organized so that way your Principes can switch out in combat with your Hastati, and you know, your Triarii can do that too. I like it. I like it a lot. Not a lot of games. Swordpoint doesn't do anything for manipular combat. This game does, and I really like that. I really enjoy it. And they give you painting guides and modeling guides for your various armies and forces in here. You know, it's the army lists are similar to Swordpoint. You got to have a certain percentage of troops, and they list all the allied nations you can draw from. And you know, this one takes it even further. If you have a Roman army that's campaigning in the east, I don't know how well that'll come across, versus a Roman army that's campaigning in the west, versus a Roman army that's campaigning in Africa. You're going to be allowed to take different stuff, right? Because a Roman army in Africa, Scipio Africanus, he was able to have access to the famed Numidians, right? And that's why ultimately he beat Hannibal at Zama, is that he had Numidians, because they switched sides in the middle of the war. But they didn't have Numidians when they were fighting in Spain, right? It was the Carthaginians that had Numidians. So I really do like that. I like how they handle. I like the special characters with the captains and the army generals and how they join units in combat. I really like that horses can also deal damage, which is really cool. I like the combat system and how units sustain damage and how they can get put out of action. I feel like it's a perfect blend of units that can fight just long enough. You don't have those glass cannons. You know, your typical pike block, your typical hoplite unit isn't a glass cannon. But they're not impossible to kill either. And some of the rules, like, you know, on a phalanx, can't be charged by cavalry to the front, right? Hell Caesar doesn't have anything like that. I don't think so. And that's ridiculous, right? It's pretty ridiculous, because even Macedonians didn't charge hoplite phalanxes to the front. That's suicide. What they did is they routed the enemy's cavalry and then hit the flanks and hit the rear. Hammer and anvil, that's what Alexander was famous for, right? But moving on from that book, I got this one, Fall of the West. This one is I think this is like one of the last ones they did. 2000, actually, it's an earlier one. So yeah, this came out in 2000, but for some reason this one's like the most easiest one to get online. maybe it was the least popular, which is weird because it is a great period of history, and I do want late Romans and barbarians because you can do Huns, you can do Goths, and my big interest is the Battle of Adrianople, and then I think it starts out with the Battle of Strasbourg, so that's with Julian the Apostate, and then it goes all the way to the fall of the West in like 455, right? But my big thing is I want to be able to do Adrianople, 396 or 378 rather, the real decline of the Roman Empire. And then I did get this one as well. I also don't have any of these guys, and I haven't read this one either, but I wouldn't mind getting Vikings, Saxons, things like that. That's what this and Normans. So this book is more or less centered around the Battle of Hastings. And if I do medievals, I will most certainly get into that because that's really cool. That's a really cool period of history too. Battle of Hastings is one of those defining moments in history. So yeah, that's WAB. I'm going to be doing a lot more WAB, and like I said, the only book I don't have that I want to get is the Age of or the Armies of Chivalry. So that's the high and late medieval periods. So they're really expensive. There's one on Noble Knights for a low price of 135 USD. So if anybody has that book and they want to sell it, definitely let me know. I am interested. But yeah, I'm going full bore into WAB here. I really like the rule systems, and it's probably what we're going to use to play through a lot of our battle reports to the armies of history. It's a shame. I would have loved to seen a Persian/Peloponnesian War Greek book, and I really would have loved to seen a early Republican Roman book, like the Italian Wars, right? Like the Samnite Wars and the Etruscan Wars, things of that nature. That would have been really cool too. The Rise of Rome had it, and I saw a reference somewhere that they were working on a Rise of Rome book, but then they just continued supporting the rules there. So it's unfortunate that they didn't have those campaigns and supplements, because I'd be all up on that if they did. So yeah, I don't know if any of you guys still play WAB out there. Oh, and I didn't show this too. I talked about it, but the Yankee Wargamer gave us this, and we will be trying this out. It's pretty much the same thing, just modified for pike and shot warfare. So I will be playing some games with that as well. So all in all, those books are really good. It's really sad GW just got their heads up their ass with how they did things, because I mean they did produce a quality product, and man, it just stinks. So yeah, so a kind of long video there, but just want to show off my WAB haul, and so I'm going to be definitely painting a lot more ancient and medieval stuff. I'm still going to be doing World War II. I'll always have an active World War II project, but we're going to be doing a lot of ancients coming up. I mean, we got the Persians, and then we're going to have Greeks too, and Etruscans, and more Republican Romans, and then eventually I want to do Germanic barbarians like Dacians for and Macromanic stuff, because Holy Diver has Imperial Romans. So until then, guys, keep on painting, and let me know if you guys play WAB.